up in the sky. Don't let it all go passing by. You know you only get one life.
Albert Einstein said, "Adversity introduces a man to himself." Welcome back to the Bare Essentials podcast. My guest today knows exactly what that means. Atlas Aultman was adopted at the age of 5. He forged his identity through the fire of military service, served in the White House as part of Special Operations Communications, and now leads men through conversations on faith, resilience, and purpose as the host of the Targeted Podcast. Atlas has been tested in ways most of us can only imagine, and through that adversity, he discovered not only who he is, but who he's called to be. This conversation will challenge you to confront your own adversity, your own identity, and your own responsibility. Now, let's welcome Atlas Aultman to the show. Atlas, how you doing? Thanks so much for
Good.
joining me today, man. I really appreciate it. Really excited about this.
Yeah, this is so cool, man. I know we've talked a little bit over text and just a little bit before the show, and I just gotta, man, let me just quickly give you props on the show. I love the way you frame it out, and your artistic uh portion of this makes everything more just pleasing to the eyes. And I watched a couple of your shows, and I was like, I really like the way you do this. So thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
No, thanks, man. And who would it, I tell people all the time, who would have guessed, I feel fortunate, right? When I was going through my own struggles, overweight, losing weight, my kids, we have nicknames in the house, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They nicknamed me Bear. And I know why they nicknamed me Bear. It's because I was soft and cuddly, but I've run with it now. You know what I mean? And it's really allowed for some good artistic stuff. So I can't take all the credit, but I appreciate the kind words. So, um, I've seen some of the work you're doing, some of, you're talking about my podcast, man. I'm blown away by what you're doing with your podcast. Uh, and I am just excited to finally, connect with you. And that being said, maybe for those who may not know who you are, could you do a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, yeah, I'll do it real brief. I'm just a family guy, man. I live in Arizona. I did a lifetime of service between my grandfather, my father, and me. I've always been associated with the military. Just promoted someone and one of my friends this past weekend, so I haven't really escaped it. But I did about 3 decades of military service myself. Went through special operations, so White House. I was in command of a lot of things. Bronze Stars from Iraq and Afghanistan. Highly decorated is what they like to say, but dude, man, I could have done more. We all think that. Uh, and I'm not hung up on that. But I wanted to give my experience from that to my kids. So I wrote a book, and my friends end up pushing it to Harvard Business Review, and then I pulled it back and self-published it, and that one went number one bestseller in 13 and 12 categories, and so that introduced me to a TED stage, and now I have lots of views on that. And I talk to men right now between the ages of 25 and 39 who are looking for people who have already done it, and they're looking for their secrets, man. And we spill them every week, and that's what I try to do is try to grab World Series champions, Hall of Famers, everyday heroes, from cops to military to, I had a guy on here that was a newspaper owner, and of my hometown newspaper when I grew up, and he just had so much generational wisdom that I would have never gotten without being in the chair that we sit in as podcasters. So I'm a huge fan of podcasting now, and that's what I do now. So whenever they introduce me on TV or I'm on the news, they always introduce me as an author and podcaster. But really, I wrote a book that was good. I haven't really picked up the pen since, and that's where I'm at. I'm now into podcasting because this is our world, brother. It's our world.
Yeah, it really is. And, in light of some of the events and tragedies lately, it's kind of, I feel more energized than ever
Yeah.
to continue this and keep having these conversations. And I like what you said there about that age range because, I'm 53 now and I think back, right? I think I would have loved to had the availability in those years of my life to maybe have access to people that you just described because it might have Yeah, I'll be blunt. It might have got me to get my shit together sooner than I did and not look back now, But no, I think what you're doing is really important. And, to me, that work you're doing, I know how difficult it can be sometimes, but I know also how rewarding it is too, man. So, but kudos, man. Kudos on all the success.
Hey, thanks, brother.
So
Yeah,
if I start here, I think I read Atlas, you were actually adopted. Is that correct?
I was adopted at 5. So my last name Altman came at 5 years old. All of my names were given to me by different families. So even Atlas was what was given to me by my military family. So we talked about your call sign, your family call sign. In the military, we get call signs from people who we'd go to war with, and that was my last name given to me. But that's the one I use now. So I use Atlas Aultman for everything, and people don't know I have another name. But my first name that was given to me at birth was Joshua Michael, and I talked about that on a couple of my talks. They have a lot of views now, and my mom named me on purpose because words have meaning, right? So do names. And whenever someone gives you a name, it's up to you to either live up to it or change it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Well, let me ask you this then. And when I think about my family call sign, right, as Bear,
Yeah.
I almost think too, I like to kind of relate it to this alter ego now I've kind of developed.
Yeah.
How does Atlas kind of shape who you are and what you do now?
Yeah. Well, so I'll go all the way through my names because like we're going into some familiar territory for me, and I love talking about this. So I think a lot of people when I tell them at parties and they're interested in like the naming convention, everyone wants to know their own name and what it means.
Mm,
And so your moms and dads, your parents are the ones that tell you like, I named you for this reason. And that kind of shapes you as a child to be that way. So my mom used to tell me, I named you Joshua Michael, which is biblical. So, I'm a Christian, and it means leader. And so I aspired to be a leader, and I started at a very young age looking at trying to be a leader. And then Michael, which is also biblical. It's God's, general for his army. So she's like, you want to be a warrior. And then I started looking at all the religious aspects. Now, I'm not religious. I believe in Jesus, but I don't believe in a specific religion.
mm.
So like all of the theology and the thoughts that go behind a name, I mean, we all have that, right? But whenever you start looking at that and you start looking at what you're doing, you can probably gather that there is some kind of connection between what your name is and what you're doing. And for you to grab on to what you've been called because other people called that out of you, that's all that is.
Mm.
And that's what a call sign usually does for military members. Now, not all of them are funny or good or clever. A lot of them have very dark stories that they'll never tell you about stupidity or the reason why they got their name is. I know he's gonna kill me. I know one of them is an acronym. His call sign is Shin, and it stands for "She's hot, I'm not." So like, there's a specific genre of names that can be coordinated to that. But in that, whenever he told me the story, he's like, I mean, look at me. He's not a bad looking guy, but he identified himself with that because somebody told him that.
Mm.
Where I'm kind of flipping the script on this is, I was given the name Altman. I was a Fry before that. So Joshua Fry was my birth name. And then I got this name Altman. Altman means old man, wise. It's a German name, but I have a red beard and I'm Irish. So I could never fit into the German culture, even though I want to. In a lot of aspects, there's a lot of great people in all cultures, and Germany's not defunct of that. But that shaped me into wanting to be a wise person. So as we gather these names and we have the option to choose to move into that thing, it really is an option, and I'm not sure many people are looking at that and thinking, well, maybe I am living up to my name. Maybe I am keeping the honor of my name or my family name, and that's unfortunate. It really is.
Yeah. No, and I'm so man, if I have to be careful because I could almost steer the whole episode in just talking about that because I'm so into that too. Um, and my youngest daughter is super into trying to figure out, like, everything. She's always asking questions, and, me personally, my family, Irish, Scottish, and last name Wallace, like, it's definitely something that we're proud of, and that heritage, and I think that's important for people.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously you're in the military, leadership, things like that. What I wanted to ask you, because leadership's something I really love to talk about on the show. What were some of your biggest challenges when you transitioned from military special ops and leadership into being an author, a speaker, host of the podcast? And how does that leadership kind of happen now outside the military?
Yeah. Well, leadership is leadership, and everyone thinks that they know what leadership is. And the truth is, leadership never stops. So the bridge between what I was doing in the military and what I'm doing now is it's mirror leadership, man. You look in the mirror and you write down. I have a lot of. I don't put everything that I think online like a lot of people. Like I put it down on paper and I get it out of my head. So the first thing that you have to do as a leader, and every man is a leader. I'll call that out on every man, is to lead yourself. Like you got to be the best version of yourself. Um, just I thought I was really, really, really good. I thought I was doing the best I could, and I was. But when I got to a couple of the organizations that were elite and they were really hard to get into, I found myself trying to figure out more about leadership because I was in that size and camp that if I have a position, if I have a rank, if they put me in this, that people will automatically follow me. And that's not how that works. In fact, leadership doesn't really exist. And I'll say that again, leadership doesn't really exist. It it it's a moment in time where people work together and everyone has a voice, and that's where leadership exists. It's not a person that is a leader. They get put in positions to make that experience happen. And that is hard for people to grasp. And that's why it's a $1 billion a day industry, right? Uh, $1 billion a day is spent on leadership development in the world. 1 billion every day because no one could figure it out. And it's real easy. It doesn't matter where you're at. It goes down to one thing. You can't have leadership without people. You can be the first in an industry, but that doesn't make you a leader for that industry. It just makes you the current leader of that industry. But you don't get to claim that you're a leader in that industry if you're not continuously in that industry. So you need the people that you can help and you can work with and that you can drive towards a specific goal. And for me, what that boils down to is an idea that I call targets.
Mm.
So goals, uh, motivation, they are all BS, man. Like you can have a New Year's resolution and, by February it's gone because the goal is too big. Or you can say, I'm going to do this today in a diet realm, right? And the diet then slips into 2 to 3 days worth of bad habits. You have to have a sweet spot in between, and that's a target. It's a focus area that you can hit. Some people call it small wins, but you have to take down where you're going to go and then make specific targets that you need to hit to get there. And that transcends from the military side to where I'm at in podcasting. And once you figure out how to hit the target, it's easier to hit it again, especially if you're in the same environment. So what I would recommend for anyone who's studying leadership is get clear on who you are. It's not the start with why BS that Simon Sinek came up with. That's a marketing theory, by the way.
Mhm.
He took a marketing theory to the stage as a marketing major, and they called it a leadership talk. And it's not. That's how kids work. Kids ask, you know, why? Why are we doing this? Why is this? Why is that? That's a kid question. The real leader looks in the mirror and says, who am I in this organization? Who am I on this team? Who am I? right now because that changes all the time. So leadership, big bubble, hard nut to crack. And I don't advocate for anyone to go into leadership and call themselves an expert because you never be an expert.
There, I I can't wait to listen back because there was a lot there that, as you were saying, that I was processing for my own life, my own career, that kind of stuff. No, I couldn't agree more. And it was interesting that you touched on the whole why thing. I've said this a few times on the show. I know for me, I've actually put more time into when I talk to people about leadership and the whole finding the why to it. I go the opposite. I said, first figure out the why not. Like I know for me, when I needed to accomplish something, it took me figuring out that I was the why not. I was the reason why it wasn't happening before any why, right? I was the why not. I was the one causing it. And once I figured that out, it went a lot smoother. Once I found out the why not and went from that aspect, it was a lot better. So, no, I think you said a lot of really, really good, interesting stuff there that I can't wait to hear back myself. Um, I know that you did which congrats on this. Again, I I feel like some of the stuff you've done, I personally would love to try to get done myself at some point in my life and be a TEDx talk.
Yep.
Definitely one of them. Your talk, I believe, how elite leaders win. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
During that, it was something about, and I think this is so important, the whole decision making process under pressure. I think that changes a lot. How can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get put into specific pressure points in their lives, and they're conditioned. Everyone's conditioned to solve problems this way. When faced with a problem, they ask three questions, just three. How much is it going to cost for this problem to go away? How fast can this problem go away? And then they ask who can do it. And that is the way society teaches you to solve problems. The problems get solved, but the way that we go about doing it is backwards. It's wrong. So what I found elite leaders to do, from 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, all the generals, the president of the United States, in combat zones where they're making big decisions, life and death. It doesn't matter, and then multi-billion dollar decisions. I've watched a lot of the billionaires make decisions. They do it the same way. And this is something that has transcended time. I studied pirates because of my Irish heritage. Whenever I started looking into my bloodline, I realized that we were focused on people so much that we stopped slavery from happening out of the Baltimore port in Ireland. And I was looking at, like, how did that happen? How do pirates lead? And it's the same way the billionaires lead. And it's the same way I'm about to expose this. They flip the script. They don't ask, how much it's going to cost for the problem to go away and how much time it's going to cost before they ask this one question: who can fix this?
Mm.
So I like to ask a car mechanic to fix my car because I could probably do it, but I will probably change out more parts than need to be changed out, and it will take me a lot longer, and I'll probably have to buy specialized tools. Meaning it's going to cost more time and money for me to fix my car when I can just bring it to a mechanic who does it all the time. And that's the way experts highlight themselves to, and this is why experts highlight themselves to multi-billionaires. This is why experts highlight themselves to bigger problems. And it's because those people get seen by those people. And it's a different mentality. So elite leaders, we're number one in Google right now. For if you type elite leaders TED Talk or elite leaders, yeah, I'll pop up, and it explains this whole process through that talk. But that's it, man. You find the right person, and then you ask them, how much time is this going to take, and how much money do you need? And 9 times out of 10, if not more, 100% of the time, the expert's going to be able to tell you exactly how much it's going to cost and exactly how much time it's going to take to go away. And they'll probably beat both because they've done it before and they can do it better this time. So I'm a big advocate for that. That's the way I make decisions in life. That's why I have a lot of success on my show. I find people that can help me,
Mm.
and then they help me. then, you know, and I jokingly said this to one of my friends last week because we're 10 months into the YouTube game, right? And we now have a platform that's bigger than 97% of YouTube channels in 10 months. And I said, hey, man, if I'd have known what I knew now from the people that I hired, I would have been able to do this in 4. I would have been able to do it a lot faster because I now found the people. This is why people who have money keep money. It's because they keep the network. They keep the same people in their lives, and then they just ask them the questions that they need to ask. So that's the secret sauce of it, as you will. But from the TED Talk, I'll tell you how to get. I'll tell all your listeners because I'm sure there's people on here that want to know, how do I get a TEDx talk? And I'm doing a funnel to help people do this and write a best-selling book and all the other things that I've done. Real quick, how that's done is if you go to TED.com, then you click at the very bottom TEDx, or you can type into the search bar TEDx, or you can just type /TEDx. It'll bring you to the TEDx page, and then you say, and then there's a little link that says, and attend an event. That opens up this giant world view, and it has little dots where all the events are. And if you click on them, you can find out who's organizing it, what the dates are sometimes, but their websites are out there. And you could start to look at specific things that you want to target for you getting on that stage. So that's step 1. That's how you can find the stages. Step 2, you need to look at their website if they have it, or look at their curator whenever they make any announcement. They'll come out with a theme. That theme will be something that you need to use during the application process. So every year they change the theme, and every year they look for local talent. So if you've got a TED stage around you, start looking at that one. And then you need to plan 6 to 8 months in advance of that date for whenever they're going to come in, and start looking for them to apply. Apply using their theme if they have that announced. And then what I did was I changed all my social media platforms and my website and everything. If you Googled me, everything said what that theme was for the stages that I applied for until I got the stage. Because you have a lot of ideas on your show, you can probably talk about a lot of things. And whatever theme they come up with, you can take whatever your idea is that you want to share and make it fit that theme. I guarantee it. So if you can apply it to that, then you can start thinking about it, and then you apply to them, they come back to you. You're going to have a really good baseline to start an amazing talk. And that's what they're looking for, man. They want to give ideas to the world. So if you are full up and ready to give that idea, they want that. They're looking for it. So that's how it works. That's exactly how it works. So
Awesome.
give me that.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Hopefully within the next, year or so, maybe 2 years, whatever, I'll be hitting you up saying thanks. I got it. So,
Yeah.
because I'm definitely going to try. No, I really appreciate that. Thanks for breaking that down for me.
Absolutely.
When I was doing a little bit of research about you, there was something that I saw and I thought was fascinating. And again, I want to make sure I get this right, but you spoke about something called the say-do ratio, I
Oh,
believe,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that fascinated me, and I honestly, I couldn't wait to get you on as much to talk about that as much as anything. So could you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I will. So I had a guy on my show named Casey Marquette. He is a multimillionaire blowing up in the world of AI for HR. So he places people in high-paying jobs, and they pay for his service, and then the companies pay for his service too, so they can get these very high level, high quality people into their organization. So it's a win-win, and then he wins in the middle, right?
Mhm.
And I was asking him, I was like, so how do you do so much every day? And he's like, well, I have a say-do ratio that's higher than most. And I was like, all right, I've heard this before. Tell me about your version of say-do. And so he was like, yeah, anything that I say, I'm going to do. So he's like, so for instance, I told you I was going to come into the studio. We're going to do the show at 8:00. He goes, I was here at 7:45. I prioritize everything around whatever I say gets done. So he's like, I don't overcomplicate it. He's like, I don't do more than like 5 or 6 things in a day, but I do those things. So My version of that is a little bit different. I write it and then I say it and then I do it.
Mm.
So my say do is what's visible to everyone in the world, but I write it first. And the way I do it is I do it at night. I write what I want to do the next day. And what that does is it programs my subconscious to start working on the thing that I'm going to do tomorrow while I'm sleeping.
Mm.
Most people don't do that. Most people can't figure that out, but that's something you can do and it works. It's worked for me. And that's why I got hired by so many elite organizations. It's why I still get hired by elite organizations is because my mind's constantly trying to figure out what I can give to people. And it's doing it while I sleep. So I write it all down. What that does is it takes it out of my head and puts it into the world. Now, when I say it, that's the actionable part. So I have all these thoughts that I can organize and massage, and I see them, so they're real now. But whenever I organize them into something that's going to be actionable, that's when I say it, and then it happens. And so what people don't see is this part. I never tell anybody about this part. But people are always asking me, how did you do these? How did you work at the White House? Dude, when I was at the White House, I'd look around and be like, how the heck did I get here? Because I don't belong here. As an adopted kid that had, I had a good childhood. I never went hungry, but man, I worked as a child. I worked for my school clothes. I bought my own car. I bought my own food at a very young age, and I was now in the elites, if you will, and I don't belong here. And as I started to backwards figure that out, and that's a proper speak right there. That's good author's talk right there. I started to figure out that it was just like I was organizing my life and orchestrating my brain into something that would eventually turn into something that I could action. And then I did it all the time. I would always action whatever it is that I said I was going to do because that accountability mirror that David Goggins talks about
Mm.
is a real thing whenever you put it to use.
Mm. See, and I told you before the show that I selfishly do this because I still learn, and I'm not kidding. I'll probably be talking about this part of it with people I work with. I'll be talking about it probably a few months from now. You'll probably see some content me talking about and go, he stole that from me, right? No, honestly, that
Take it. No, I'll spread it. It's like the gospel, man. It works. It always works. But no one wants to put in the work, man. Nobody wants to work.
yeah, and I think, and again, you talk about it as far as getting to elite levels, right? I think part of it is that you have to. I think there's too many people that want to get to an elite level, but they're not willing to do what's required, and I think that's a problem, which brings me to this next point. I know you said you speak to a lot of men. I speak more to men also. In that kind of framework, as far as wanting to be better, wanting to be more, get to an elite level, what do you think as men today everybody's lacking as far as, resilience, responsibility, accountability, and leadership in general?
Well, I'm gonna bring this right back from the beginning. One of the common beliefs is that you are the average of the top 5 people that you hang around. And I put that in a different frame. I said, be careful who you let in your life. Be careful who you let in your life. They will change it. Where people are negligent and where they are careless and reckless is what you're seeing on social media right now. After the Charlie Kirk shooting, you're seeing different sides of people that you didn't probably see,
Mm,
but you're connected with them on social media. So now your network of 5 people has become 500,
mm,
and you have to control that circle. So men specifically, they need to lead their relationships on social media just as much as they do in their real life. So you're spending on average 60 to 70% of your day as someone who lives today in America behind a screen, whether it's a computer screen or your phone,
mm.
or the screen that's now on a lot of vehicles. You're spending most of your time behind a screen, but you're not controlling it like you are with your real life. You don't go into a room and avoid somebody that is going to ask you for whatever is awkward it's just, there's these social things that haven't become awkward in social media until recently. And it's kind of a wake up call to a lot of people that, maybe I shouldn't maybe I shouldn't be consuming this data. Maybe I shouldn't be connected to these people. Um, but also like the echo chamber that most people live in, that we're not in social media anymore. We're in entertainment mode. We're in influence media where, the whole goal of the game is to have you influence to someone else's belief. If you have a core belief, as a man, one thing you need to do is find 2 to 3 guys that you can send those weird social media posts to. That's what men are missing right now. They're missing that that brotherhood, that connectedness, that man-to-man conversation that only a man's gonna understand this post, and I'm not sure everyone has those people on their feet. So, I'm gonna expand this. You're the average of the top 5 people that you hang out with. That's probably your loved ones in your family, And right now that's where the extent is. It used to be other people at work, and now those people are not. Their heads down. They're not as social as they used to be. But those other 5 people in your virtual world, who are they? And the easiest way to do it is to pull out your phone, right? Pull out your phone and you look at the top 3 posts on all your platforms, the top 3 posts. And I would recommend that you do this for whatever your platforms are, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of whatever, or X. Um, Look at your top 3 posts because that's what the world thinks you are. And if that doesn't align with who you think you are, then you need to make some changes. And I think that's the big thing for men. And how you do that, you put people like you in your feed. I want, and this is why we connected. I'm like, I like his content. I like some of the things he's bringing to the world. But what I really like about us is we're trying to give people voices, and we're trying to amplify their ideas, and we're trying to give that to the world. And there's not too many of us, brother. There's not. So it's good to be in that brotherhood with you, and it's good to see that you and I are on the same page as that. But not everyone is, and I think that's the biggest thing to point out to men is, hey man, you need to pay attention to this.
It's interesting as you were talking about that, I just had this last night. My wife and I went out for we didn't have enough steps, so we had to go out at like 9:30 at night to get our steps in, right? We were having a conversation and she was telling me about some things she was sending to a group of female friends that she's part of. And I literally said, You're too trusting." I said, "I don't know if that's the circle should be that large that you're saying
Yeah.
and sending some of this to," but it really no, that resonated to me what you said, and I think it is sad, uh, my family sometimes will say to me, they think I'm antisocial. I'm like, "No, I'm a realist, maybe a little cynical, but I really
Yeah.
if I'm in it with somebody, that means that in my mind, I'm there, right? Like, somebody and I try to do that with the show, right? I try to be like, there's only certain people I would want on here, you being one of them. No, I think that was great. Great the way you said it. So as far as your career, some of the things that you've accomplished, when you speak to men, how
Yeah.
do you kinda meet men at the level they're at to get them to kind of take it up a notch?
I don't. Let's tell you that right there. Um, I think if you're a man, you're never at the level that you could be at. Your potential is greater as long as you try. And your potential should never stop. It should never be squelched. It should never your thirst and drive as a man should never, as long as you're alive, you should still thrive. And you should always strive to do better. And all that rhymes. And I didn't mean that, but that's how it works. Um, Whenever someone comes to me with a problem, I ask them, what are they doing to fix the problem? How are they solving their problem? Because a lot of times people like to take people who they see as thought leaders. I'm not. I just have thoughts. Whatever thought I have should be like you said. You're going to take what I gave you, and you're going to make it yours, and you're going to talk about it. Hell yeah, do that. you know, but most people aren't. So I don't meet them where they are. I expect more out of everyone, and that's probably why I'm hard to grasp for some people. It's just because I see better. I see better for everyone, and they don't see it for themselves, and that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
It's that they don't believe they can be better, and someone somewhere told them that, and so I try to stomp that out. Like, whatever you think your limits are, they're not.
Mm.
If you have scary dreams, good, because that's how you're going to get things done. And if you're not of the belief that you're good enough, you will stay where you're at. And that to me is that's scary. And I don't want to feed into that mantra. I don't want to feed into that mindset.
Yeah, I love that. I look back at my own life and where I was, and I tell people all the time, I wish that somebody, and again, it was all on me. I get that. But I do wish somebody would have got in my face instead of trying to, I'll say, love me and coddle me. I wish somebody sooner would have said, "You're being an asshole. Let's get your shit together." Right? I needed that, and I respond better to that. I know some people don't, but no, I think what you're saying is true. I think we just words. I think sometimes words get misconstrued, right? It's that if it's something somebody doesn't like, then right away you did something wrong to them. No, but I think your approach and the way you come at people is we need more of it. I do believe that. Um,
You're 100% though. It's not always welcomed. It's not always welcome. People don't like it, especially if it's the first time they've been challenged. But when I was in some special operations communities, those guys have been told that they're special and unique since their mom was wiping their hiney.
mhm.
And they believe that, or a lot of them are freaking amazing. But some of those guys, hard to work with because they don't want to work with anybody. They think they're the best. So that made me like really realize, holy crap, man! Like this guy thinks he's where he needs to be, not realizing he could be better. It doesn't matter what elite team you're on, you could always do better. And I uncover that through world champions all the time. It doesn't, they achieve something, but it goes away so quick. They're on to the next. It doesn't matter whether they win or learn, they're going on to the next thing. It's the people who think, oh, I lost. That mindset right there, I hate it. I don't like it. There is no losing as long as you're going to continue to go.
And listen, Alice, I really, I'm not saying it because I'm speaking, I really appreciate that. And again, I want to fill my feed with more of that because
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you if I said I don't wake up in the morning some days and I need that kicking that butt, right? Like I need that some days. I really do. And I do rely sometimes on people like you, other people that I've had on the show. I look at those feeds sometimes and it does help. It really, really does. I definitely, I think I'd be like doing a disservice if I didn't ask somebody like you this question. I mean, in what's happened lately with, the tragedy with Charlie Kirk and you doing what you do, I do what I do. I'm not saying that we're that level, but does that how does that make you feel? Does that intimidate, scare you, or does it inspire you to be even more than we are now?
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of voices raise up now. Um, I mean, no politics here. As a member of humanity, it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what their beliefs are. Um, I don't like seeing people shot in cold blood for exercising their rights. And what's happening, what I used to see of Charlie Kirk is him debating people and letting anyone come up to the mic. Like I've seen him welcome a Satanist, in a full up Satan thing. I was like, oh my gosh, is this for views? And it wasn't, but he still published it. And there was nothing there. It's just like, hey, if this guy gets a mic, you can too. And we just we need more of that, man. The dialogue. I have friends on both sides of the political aisle. I worked on the left when I was in the White House. I worked for a lot of people that were on the left. As a military guy, I'm not allowed to have political affiliation, so I worked for the office of the president. Um, so uh, I worked on that side. I have friends on that side, and I have friends on the right because I'm in the military. And, we believe in a lot of the things that the military believes, a lot of the right things and on the right. So I have friends on both sides. And what I saw, the celebration is what really, it really tore me apart, man. the celebration of anyone's cold-blooded murder is and laughing about it and joking about it. And I mean, it really hit me, I mean, really hard, because my kid, who is new to social media, was seeing comments of somebody, um, being killed, being celebrated, and he couldn't wrap his head around the humanity that he was witnessing, you know? And I don't protect him or guard him because I was having a hard time, processing the same things of people that I knew, saying that he was these things that I had never seen before. And I had to go into like ChatGPT and be like, why are people saying this?
Mm.
And GPT was like, this is why, there's a guy named Chank, and they think he's saying a derogatory term, but that's just his name. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, these people are in their silos and ready to fight like it's a foxhole. And they are seriously thinking of other people as enemies to the point that they would shoot them. It's hard for me. It's really hard for me, to witness humanity go that way, and then to see the evil on display, paraded on display with comments, and then what? A day or two later, people are getting fired for their comments. This is probably the first time ever where people aren't allowed to have their own opinions because they're making them public.
Mhm.
Um, and whenever you make it public, that's you become a public figure and a potential target for politics and whatever else the world wants to throw at you. In this case, for Charlie, unfortunately, it was a 30-06 bullet. But even this, man, the unrest on what actually happened,
Mm.
like. As a guy in the military looking at the rifle that they found, I'm like, there's no way that's the rifle. And the scope's messed up. It's like that guy should have had a black eye. There's a whole lot of things that just don't make sense. And I just don't know, man. It, the trust factor for other people, trusting other people, went down this past weekend in America. And that's not the country that I grew up in, and that's not the country that I was fighting for. I was fighting for one that Charlie Kirk was trying to bring back, and I'm seeing more and more of that now. As after unfortunately after he passed, I'm seeing more and more of his work and what he did to to make heaven crowded, you know what I mean? And to tell people that, hey, it's okay to have opinions. It's okay to have your own views. You don't have to agree with me. You can try to prove me wrong. And sometimes you will. Um, but same breath, same conversation, everything that Charlie Kirk said, I didn't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said. I don't believe that college is a scam. I think college is very open about what you're going to get. You're going to get a different worldview from them, and as long as you can can learn from that and not adopt some of the stupidity that comes along with that, they're just showing you the stupidity in a lot of cases. Like, this is crazy, isn't it?
Mhm.
You're not supposed to be like, yeah, it's crazy, and I believe it. It's not really a scam in that right, but um, yeah, it's unfortunate, man, that our world has turned this way, and now it's gonna divide even more. So,
Yep.
uh, yeah, I mean, one more thought. I I think after this weekend, uh, I've seen more far right and far left. So now I have to be really guarded now whenever I have something going into my feed because you have these bots that are paid for by the right and the left that go far right and far left. And I don't know if I'm talking to somebody or a machine that's trying to dissuade me. And I have to really dig into the content that's being fed to me now because of the event that happened that I had nothing to do with.
Mm.
And I don't like that aspect of it either because young minds get molded quickly based off of what they're reading and seeing and all this stuff. And I know for a fact my kids are getting that. And I can only guard them so far before they start to think a certain way. And that's what I think happened here with the shooters. That's what they're trying to paint and portray as what happened. But That's scary, man. It's so scary to be like, uh, I get terrorists, man. I get their ideal. I understand why they do what they do. I do. It doesn't mean I agree with it, but I understand why they think that they're right.
Mm.
Um, and I believe that a lot of things that they do are evil things, but Americans killing Americans is far worse. Domestic terrorism is far worse than anything that can be placed in someone else's backyard because it's their problem. So I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I condemn it.
Yeah, no, and listen, I appreciate you going into it the way you did, and I apologize, like, I didn't wanna bring this conversation down to that, but like I said, I think from having somebody like you on, I did wanna get your opinion, on it, and I think we're aligned. I like I said, I didn't agree with everything, uh, Charlie Kirk said either. You know, there was things that I would listen to that I didn't agree with. You know, I myself am I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, but I don't know if I believe in organized religion. I tell people that all the time. I think sometimes some of his real literal interpretation, hardline stances, interpretations of Bible, that wasn't for me, but what I admired about him was the way, and I think what he brought also to our youth was that he made it kinda cool to be smart and to be able to think on your feet, and that's the thing where I said to somebody, I don't think people realize how difficult to replace that skill. He had a unique skill set that was a combination of intelligence, emotional intelligence, book smarts, even though he didn't go to college, and just being able to converse. He was a good orator. Yeah, no, I think our world is worse off without somebody like him in it. So I think
Yeah.
us having these conversations will, again, not that I'll ever be at that level, but just these small conversations will do a lot to get people, to continue to think about it at least.
Well, the most intelligent people in the world are self-taught, whether they went to school or not.
Mm,
So being on display as someone who advocated for learning, no matter whether you're in school or not, is awesome.
mhm,
Um, he advocated for, he believed that it's just, there's a lot there. And we can unpack that for days. We don't need to. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to find somebody that will just openly let you say whatever it is that you want to say,
mm.
and then be like, okay, well, I don't think we agree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Wish you the best. I bless you and your family. And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
This dude gets shot. This dude who's blessing everybody and being nice to them, and like, ugh, trying to make sure that everyone's qualified. The DEI thing, I think, is what he gets the most heat for. Because, Biden went on and he said, if I get elected, I'm going to hire these people and we're going to have a diverse. And so he did. And, and, and so Kirk was like, he called him out. He's like, Biden said he was going to hire these people for diversity and inclusion. And then he did. And then I'm just saying he did. And now you guys are attacking me for calling them a DEI hire, which he said that they were. So
Yeah.
it's politics, man. Anytime you step in that light, you're going to get attacked. President Obama used to get attacked for trying to steal guns.
Mm.
I used to live at the White House for days. We never talked about stealing anybody's guns. So it's funny to like see the rhetoric that goes around these things and that people believe them. It's the hardest thing. Can I tell you a story real quick?
Yeah, man, please.
So when I was at the White House one day, my mom called me and she was panicking. And she's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, fine. What's up?" Because she never calls me. She knew when I was at work.
Mm.
And I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "I just want to make sure you're okay. The president's been shot." I was like, "Mom, I'm looking at the president right now. He is definitely not shot." And she's like, "I'm seeing it on the news." And I'm like, "I'm seeing him in person. Are we done with this conversation? I'm fine. The president's fine. Please turn off whatever that is that you're watching because it's not true." Um, but that's how news gets delivered, and then the first person to get the news out is usually the one that shapes the public narrative. And so back to how elite leaders win. Um, they trust the experts, and the people that you put in your life to be those experts should be trustworthy. So just be careful who they are. That's all I'll say on that.
No, no, man. I think this, again, I told you I was excited about this conversation, and I think it totally delivered, at least from my perspective. I always judge these by did I learn something from them, and I learned so much from this today. What I wanted to end with was last question I want to ask you is I'm always curious for someone like you who I look at as very successful and is doing a lot of really good things. When you look forward, maybe for the next 5 years or so, right? What do you see as far as what you'd like to accomplish, specifically with podcasting and maybe more specific with Targeted?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at now. So I need to hit 100,000 before Christmas. That's my target right now. That makes me, that I get like a plaque, I guess, for that is what they tell me. Where, I have something tangible I can be like, hey, I've done. But what I want to see more of out of the show is more comments where people are connecting on the ideas that are shared by these people who are just absolutely amazing, man. Like amazing people. And then they're sharing secrets with me that they only share with their friends. And people are skipping out on, they're missing on this world that we live in podcasting if they're not plugged into it. Podcasting is the new book.
Mhm.
You can gather so much more at 2x, 3x, 4x speed if you can listen to it fast. And you can consume a lot more and then avoid the bad things that they all went through just by listening to them. And so I'm gonna bring on now. I have a guest list. Um, I'm a hire will continue to grow, but every episode that I publish, it gets 1% better.
Mm.
So that 1% at 100 pieces of content that I put out, I'm 100% better than what I started. And you can look at it
Mm.
through your channels. You probably have done this where you look at 4 years ago when you started going through and you're like, oh, wow. And then I changed to here and then I changed. It's the little improvements, everything that happens that's great happens in small little improvements. So the small little improvements will hopefully get me in front of a larger audience where I can help more people. That's all it is. I don't. I'm not monetizing my show for me. I don't have any merch or anything like that. I have sponsors that will sponsor the show, but I'm like mom, man. I'm making milk and cookies, and you can either come and eat them, or they could stay there and get stale. It don't matter to me. I'm gonna make them
Mm.
and they'll always be free. If somebody wants to pay for my sugar and my flour, I'm gonna let that happen. So I do welcome sponsors, but I'll never ask anybody for money to listen to my content. That's just I don't I know people do it, but I couldn't imagine a world that we guard secrets like what we captured from other people. I couldn't imagine that world. And maybe that's the next evil that we'll see is whenever fences start to go up around information that should be freely shared. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks for asking.
No, and, I'm excited for you, man. Like I said, I talked about it a little bit, but, like, it was funny when we connected via LinkedIn, I was excited to have you on, and I sent you a message. You said, "Hey, liked your podcast, whatever," and I finally I had a chance, I start checking yours out, and I laughed. I did, I laughed. I went, "Well," I said, "Man, he's mine looks, this is next level what this guy's doing." And I no, it really is, man. I know you're being really modest about it, but trust
Thank you.
everybody listening, trust me. Atlas he's doing something really, really incredible with that podcast, Targeted, and I think you guys should all check it out. That being said, Atlas, where can people connect with you at?
Yeah. Me personally, they can hit me up on LinkedIn. That's where you'll get me. Uh, And pro tip, if you're looking for a guest on a show, a lot of the celebrities still use their own LinkedIn account. So if you're a podcaster and you're looking to bring somebody on, I reached out and talked to a lot of people that way. Um, so LinkedIn, Atlas Aultman, and then Instagram. Everyone's got to have an Instagram. If you're going to be on TV, that's where TV goes to find out who you are. That's also Atlas Aultman. And then Targeted Podcast is available on YouTube. Right now in September, we're sitting at 69,000 subscribers. We grow about 3 to 5,000 a week. So um, love to have you as part of that subscriber base, so that we can get there. But leave a comment, like start a conversation. It's a community, whether we want it to be or not. It's always going to be a community. So enjoy talking to other people who are also trying to better themselves every day. And yeah, I hope to provide that to the world until I die.
You're doing a great job with it, man, and I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to just continue following along and being part of your community now. Atlas, I really, really appreciate it, and I hope everyone enjoyed this as much as I did. I really, really enjoyed this today. And again, thanks everybody who tuned in for this. Please, if you're not, please subscribe. Check out Atlas's Targeted Podcast, and let's just keep spreading these messages around. I think it's really, really important. So thanks again, everyone, and thank you, Atlas. Take care. Bye. That was Atlas Aultman, a man who has lived what Einstein said: adversity introduces a man to himself. His story is proof that identity isn't handed to you, it's forged in struggle. His message is proof that resilience isn't abstract, it's built one decision at a time. If you got value from this episode, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, because leadership, resilience, and responsibility aren't built in comfort, they're forged in the fire. Until next time, remember, adversity isn't the end, it's the beginning. And as always, dare to roar.
You'll never know unless you try. The limits way up in the sky. Don't let it all go passing by. You know you only get one life.